Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Chapter 51, Dirty Wanda. Which it turns out you like this kind of stuff. In the dark cave surrounded by vine runes, the magic book was placed on the central platform, exuding bursts of evil black aura, accompanied by the heart-piercing screams of evil spirits. Its presence keeps the cave temperature cold. Sure enough, it's the Book of Darkness. I don't know where the old witch got it from. Lizzie pondered and walked towards the location of the magic book. After approaching, you can clearly feel a cold air blowing on your face, and the temperature around your body drops sharply, which is due to the evil cold air emanating from the magic book. Cracks appeared on the bottom of the high platform because it carried magic books all the year round. This thing is simply a mobile refrigeration machine, no wonder the witch lost weight in the original book. Lizzie picked up the dark book and flipped through it. Feeling the cold book, he couldn't help complaining. Practicing with the magic book every day, can you not lose weight if the cold air erodes your body? He reckoned that he would have to get a duplicate version of the Dark God book, so that when he was studying for Wanda, he would not be corroded by the cold. By the way, delete the original content and some unnecessary evil parts. Legend has it that when Sithorn recorded the spells, he also recorded his own evil deeds. The evil deeds recorded by a generation of ancient gods are only in the form of writing, and they will affect the readers. Even after using the black magic in the book, many people will sacrifice their souls to the ancient god Sithorn. In the original book, the witch learned together with the evil part, which led to her becoming obsessed and became a female devil who killed anyone she saw. Lizzie admitted that such a witch has a special flavor and is very cool. But he still likes the witch who is sweet and sweet now. No wonder the witch will improve so quickly after learning it. Lizzie was fascinated after reading for a while. As a magician, he couldn't resist all kinds of powerful spells in the dark book. What's more, there are many spells that can be cast across multi-universes. For example, in Doctor Strange 2, the dream walk used by Wanda can capture her peers in the multi-universe, manipulate the physical body occupying the trial body for her own use. After 10 minutes, he quickly read the whole book in one breath. The powerful memory brought by creating magic made him remember everything in the book easily after reading it once. A good book is a good book, but it is better for witches not to learn some content. Lizzie looked at the dark divine book in his hand. It's not that he is worried that the witch's soul will be sacrificed, the chaos force in the witch's body is not yet weak to that point. I'm just worried that some dark magic will affect the witch's mind. Thinking about it, he opened his hand and wrapped it around the book with golden light. Next second, an identical Dark God book appeared on the left hand, and the reprinted version did not emit black aura, which looked like an ancient collection. Perfect. Lizzie flipped through a few pages, and after confirming that there was no problem with the content, he put it away with satisfaction. Lee, where are you? At this time, there was a call from outside the cave. I'm tidying up Agatha's room, wait for me. Hear a familiar voice. Lizzie knew it was Wanda without thinking too much. He quickly put away the original Book of Darkness and ran out of the cave. Hide the cave until the door opens. Click. What are you doing? Wanda opened the door and poked her head in, glanced at the cold room, and found that the living room was very tidy, and many things were placed in their original places. She suddenly widened her eyes and said in surprise, "My God, doesn't Agatha usually use these furniture? Maybe a medieval witch, and a little out of date." Lizzie took the witch's soft white hand and joked, "It's not like you, who is obviously a witch but acts like a house girl, watching movies every night and only getting up at noon the next day. I'm not a witch, and I don't even know magic." Wanda is speechless. She is obviously a superpower. Why does she always like to call herself a witch? Is this also a hobby? How can there be so many weird tastes in the world? First legs and feet, then socks, and some strange clothes. Before getting along with Lizzie, she didn't know that she had so much knowledge in that area, and she was so dirty. "Didn't you take a shower? Why so fast?" Lizzie leaned closer and smelled the faint fragrance, and felt an inexplicable urge to hug her. "After washing, go and help me unload my luggage, I'm going to move to your room." Wanda pushed and pushed him. It's very cold just after taking a shower in autumn, so she has to go back to the house and turn on the heating. "You don't have to be so hungry, witch." An ambiguous arc was drawn at the corner of Lizzie's mouth, and he reached out and pinched her nose. "No more nonsense, I'll bite you to death." Wanda blushed when she heard this sentence. Zhang Yanwu opened her mouth and bit Li Zi's arm, but just rubbed it symbolically. However, the next second, she was picked up sideways and ran upstairs. Don't worry, witch, I'll take you back here. Li Zi smiled and strode upstairs with her in his arms. Put me down. Wanda felt her body hanging in the air, her hands wrapped tightly around his neck, and her voice became soft. She admitted that princess hugs are always lethal to women, especially being hugged by someone she likes. Attached to the muscular figure, through the thin casual clothes, you can clearly feel Li Zi's sharp abdominal muscles. People can't help but want to get closer. You hold on so tightly, do you want me to let you go, or not? Li Zi lowered his head, clearly feeling the soft woman in his arms approaching constantly, and teased with a smile. Put it down quickly. Wanda met his gaze, and because they were hugged and their faces were very close, the hot breath they exhaled when they spoke hit each other. Getting up close makes the atmosphere weird. The witch, who came back to her senses, quickly looked away, blushing, and said, I'm very heavy, I'm afraid you won't be able to carry it. Witch, are you questioning a man's physical ability? When Li Zi heard this, his complexion suddenly became dark. Originally, she didn't intend to tease her anymore, but the witch actually underestimated him, which was simply insulting his dignity. Hey, what are you doing? Wanda noticed the expression in his eyes, and felt the man's hand tighten again. Immediately noticed something was wrong. Prove my own ability. After saying that, Li Zi embraced the warm and fragrant nephrite in his arms, and lowered his head to her lips. Wanda felt the foreign object breaking into her mouth, her pupils constricted suddenly, her eyes widened in panic. QAQ. This is the stairwell, don't mess around. 10 minutes later. Suite 1002. Damn Li. Wanda touched her moist and slightly swollen lips, lying on the soft sofa with a blushing face. The naive guy actually hugged himself and kissed him in the stairwell for 10 minutes. Was he trying to take the opportunity to suck himself dry? Thinking back to the incident just now, the witch wished to stuff her head into the gap of the sofa. What a shame. Click. Witch, I have brought all your things here. At this time, the culprit Li Zi walked in, pushing several boxes. Don't call me a witch. You pervert, do you have any special hobbies? Wanda shouted in embarrassment. Witch is a pet name, you want to dirty it. Li Zi shrugged and said he was innocent, he really didn't have other thoughts. Besides, Wanda will be the most powerful witch on Earth in the future. She originally has her own bug. Believe in you, there will be ghosts, hurry up and take a bath. Wanda gave him a blank stare, and now every word this hateful man said, I don't believe it is pure. Alright, I'll wash Shangshang to accompany you. Li Zi walked towards the bathroom with a smile. The prodigal son. Wanda blushed, angrily cursing out the few Chinese words she knew. I really have the illusion of being in a wolf's den, it's still a satyr's den. Wait for the sound of flushing in the bathroom. Wanda looked away, looked at the laptop on the table, tried to turn it on and found that there was no password. She glanced at the bathroom where the water was rushing, quietly picked up the computer, opened the browser, and entered a line of words in the search box. Open black lens bracket. What kind of quirk is a man who always likes to call himself a witch, and likes feet and feet? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Search content. Close black lens bracket. Opening square bracket, comma, closing square bracket. Wanda slid down and looked all the way down, her expression gradually becoming weird. It's like opening a door to a new world. Her earlobes also gradually turned red, and her whole figure looked like a cooked lobster. I didn't notice the rapid passage of time at all. In the bathroom. Call. Li Zi had already taken a shower, dried her hair with a hair dryer, opened the bathroom door and went out. Her gaze just met the witch lying on the sofa. Her long, milk-white legs were dangling in the air, and her pink toes looked even more translucent after taking a bath. Like a carved work of art. People can't move their eyes. Wanda, lying on the sofa, noticed someone behind her, turned her head and met Li Zi's fiery gaze. This man was admiring her legs and feet. She recalled what she found just now, sat up cross-legged immediately, and asked, Li, what are you looking at? Look at you. Seeing that the benefits were gone, Li Zi was reluctant to open them. Abnormal. Wanda narrowed her beautiful eyes and said fiercely. Witch, did you see something? Li Zi noticed the laptop in the witch's arms. He glanced at the browser interface from the corner of his eye, and immediately guessed what the woman must have searched on the internet. Otherwise, in the past, she definitely wouldn't call herself a pervert. Bah, I am a decent person. Not a pervert. Don't come here. Wanda glanced at the search content and immediately covered the screen. Because after searching for the first question before, she saw many other keywords on the forum. Out of curiosity, I searched. So now the historical records of the top 200 historical records are no longer the things that were searched before. Now all the searches are SM, role-playing, how to play stockings, how to play sex. She swore it was just out of curiosity, but if it wasn't for the search, she wouldn't even know that Lizzie had these things in her head. It's too evil. Backquote, your reaction made me interested. Seeing the witch's reaction, Lizzie formed a smirk on the corner of his mouth, and strode over to grab the laptop. Do not come. An airy summation, Ova. Wanda saw the tall Lizzie striding over. She immediately jumped off the sofa, stepping on the cold floor with her bare feet. Run to the bedroom. Witch, have you learned to be bad secretly? Seeing her reaction, Lizzie already thought of what Chi-Chi, his own witch, should have seen on the internet. Weird stuff. Otherwise, it would not be this reaction. Boom. No. Wanda didn't give him a chance at all, and ran into the room yelling. After closing and locking the door with his backhand, he sat down on the ground with a sigh of relief, panting while watching the shameful content on the screen. If these contents are seen by Lizzie, he will definitely be more unscrupulous in the future. You can think of it without thinking too much. The hateful man will definitely say, "Little witch, so you like this kind of thing too? I will satisfy you." Bang bang bang. Open the door quickly. 17. Lizzie's voice came from outside the door. No, wait until I finish deleting. Wanda raised her snow-white neck and shouted towards the door. Anyway, he must have guessed what shame he was searching for. But without evidence, what can you do to me? I deleted them all in one go. Oh, carrot oh hash. Open the door quickly. Wanda ignored the voice outside the door, and lowered her head to take a final look at the shameful search content. Frowning slightly in disgust, he quickly opened the history and pressed the clear button. Swish. In 1 second, the original 200 historical records were instantly cleared. Call. Looking at the blank interface, the witch let out a satisfied smile on her pretty face and let out a sigh of relief. Sure enough, I heard that the thing that a man will do before he dies is to delete his browsing history. It turned out to be this feeling. There was nothing in the record, and I felt innocent in an instant. After a while, she stood up and opened the door brazenly, raised a confident smile, and handed the computer over. Okay, return it to you. What bad things did you do with my computer? Wang Lahao. When Lizzie took the computer, he picked her up and took her to the sofa. Nothing. Wanda glanced at the man to open the browser, shook her head and said. Really? Give you another chance. Lizzie's eyes are as deep as black emeralds, looking at her as if he has seen through everything. Goo. No. Wanda had a feeling of being seen through, but she still shook her head firmly. I kept repeating it in my heart. Anyway, all the browsing records were deleted. Even if he refused to admit it, he found evidence. Children who lie will be punished. Lizzie said with a smile. No, nothing, and what can I do with your computer? Wanda looked away, lowered her head and fiddled with her crystal clear toes as if nothing had happened. Then I'll restore the history to see. Lizzie looked at the appearance of the witch and smiled slightly, and directly entered the background of the account. He has logged into the account before, and the historical records will be uploaded to the cloud in real time, in order to prevent users from deleting records by mistake. It is convenient for users to retrieve the records. What? When Wanda heard this, she immediately looked at the screen. At the moment Lizzie had already logged into her account and clicked on Restore History. It's over QQ. Simple witches don't know the dangers of the world, and there is such a thing as data recovery in the world. Her wise words will be ruined here. Don't look. Wanda panicked completely, blushing and frantically covering the screen. Unfortunately, it was too late. I saw the browser record that was already blank, and pressed the OK button with Lizzie's fingertips. Swish. The blank interface is instantly occupied by rows of unsightly search records, and each piece of content can make people imagine. Instantly, the air in the living room fell into silence, and the atmosphere gradually became weird. Chapter 52. Under the radiance of yellowish light, the flickering white light of the computer screen presents the history interface of the browser. Lines of historical records emerged one after another on the blank interface, like a diary of shame in life. It made the witch feel dizzy for a while. It's all over, all the records have been restored. What a shame. Why did no one tell her that there is a recovery function? If she knew it, she should have uninstalled the software directly. You actually watch this kind of stuff? Lizzie was slightly taken aback after seeing the first item clearly. Is it because his eyes are dazzled? He seems to see the word, interest. Open black lens bracket. Wanda next to her leaned over to see the unsightly words. She blushed and gritted her teeth and shouted, "Don't look. Don't look." As she said that, she rushed over with flailing claws, trying to snatch the notebook in front of Lizzie. Even if she dies today, she will clear all the records. No, a bad boy has to admit that he has done something wrong. Let me see, what else did you check? Lizzie turned his back to block the witch, and said triumphantly. After finally catching the witch's handle, how could it be easily let go? You still want to watch? Wanda hugged Lizzie tightly from behind like a kitten with fried hair when she heard it. For a moment, she really felt that the whole world collapsed. If this hateful man reads those records, he will have no face to get along with him in the future. Why can you see it, but I can't? Lizzie felt the soft body of the witch's fragrance, and hugged him tightly. He smelled the fragrance, and suddenly his mouth became dry. I don't need to watch it, but you have to promise me one condition. What conditions? The innocent Wanda heard that she could discuss it, and immediately wrapped her snow-white hands around his neck and asked. Reward me. Lizzie pointed to his mouth. You haven't taken the initiative once. Active and passive in this kind of thing are completely two kinds of feelings. He was always active before, and the shy witch couldn't accept active tongue-kissing at all. Don't want. Sure enough, Wanda refused. I feel shy partly, and more partly feel that Lizzie is like an old fox. How could I delete those contents so easily? Definitely another trap. You sure, little witch, you seem to have searched 200 items, and the history records are full. Lizzie slides the mouse, all the way to the end, more content is displayed. He looked at the things he searched, and was extremely surprised. I didn't expect it, I really didn't realize that my witch is a hooligan. I didn't. 667. No, you listen to me explain. Wanda stammered anxiously, went around, and suddenly remembered that she seemed to be able to explain. An explanation is a cover-up, and a cover-up is the truth. Lizzie turned his head away, not wanting to hear it at all. Because he knew that witches were not that kind of superficial women. The performance of the witches in the original book is very silent, introverted and sensitive to external affairs, and she is a good model of a good girl in an ordinary family. Besides, a woman who feels ashamed to eat loudly at a restaurant. How could it be such a person? But Lizzie finally sees the opportunity, and it is impossible to let the witch go easily. Wanda was so angry that she swallowed all the words she wanted to explain, and sat beside her with her legs folded and her hands wrapped around her knees in annoyance. Witch, don't you really think about it? Seeing that she was silent, Lizzie took the initiative to draw a smile on the corner of her mouth. If you want to keep your word, you must delete it, and it can't be restored. Wanda met the man's mean smile, gritted her teeth and decided to trust him once. If it really doesn't work, it will be directly destroyed by the computer. At worst, buy a new one and compensate him. Thinking, she closed her eyes and leaned forward slightly. Soft lips touched together. As soon as she touched it, she immediately wanted to back away, but a thick hand had already wrapped around the slender willow waist, and she suddenly pulled it forward. Next second, the feeling of familiarity is overwhelming. Wanda's eyes were slightly dazed, and her pupils constricted. Come again. Second time today. She wanted to break free, but one hand was firmly locked, and her waist was grabbed by a big hand, so she couldn't move back at all. The only hand that can move can only support the man's chest. Don't let yourself fall. Due to the height difference between the two, Wanda was forced to raise her snow-white swan neck to agree. She really wanted to use origin magic power to lift the hateful Lizzie away, but she was worried about hurting him. In the end, I can only fall into tenderness. But Lizzie didn't go too far this time, and let go of her hand after a while. Call. Wanda's body went limp, and she slumped on the soft sofa and panted heavily. On the side, Lizzie propped his chin with one hand, admiring the witch, wearing thin pajamas, outlining a perfect body curve. Reveals the ultimate sexy charm. Having just been pampered, the witch's earlobes are now red, and people can't help but want to reach out and flick her. In particular, she was paralyzed on the sofa and breathed heavily, giving people the illusion of desire and dissatisfaction. In fact, Wanda was reminiscing about the feeling just now. She obviously felt shy, but she was very comfortable. She enjoyed that moment very much. Just as she was thinking, when she met Li Zi's gaze, she felt a little guilty, and quickly said, "What are you looking at? Quickly delete the history. Didn't you wuxia often say that a gentleman is hard to chase after a word, and a person must be honest, otherwise I..." Wanda thought for a while, trying to find some nasty words. But they all felt that it was too vicious and couldn't bear to say it, so they held back for a long time and squeezed out a sentence, "Otherwise I will ignore you for half a month." Well, a gentleman never breaks his promise. Li Zi nodded without intending to break his promise, reopened the history of the browser, slid to the bottom, and couldn't help laughing. In fact, he had already noticed the earliest search record. What kind of weirdness is it for a man who always likes to call himself a witch, and likes feet and feet? Sure enough, I misunderstood myself. The witch is so cute, and I went to the internet to search for answers. Why are you laughing? Wanda saw the smile on the corner of his mouth, thinking that this guy was browsing his own records, and after leaning over, the interface had been emptied. I am a gentleman and I never break my promise. Li Zi frowned slightly and smiled at her. Delete it, what are you laughing at? Wanda touched her hot earlobe and sat down on the soft sofa. This hateful man didn't know how alluring that smile was just now. Thinking about it, she couldn't help but glanced at Li Zi quietly again. I had been tossing and browsing the records with him before, only now did I realize how handsome the man in front of the computer is. The light from the screen reflected on the sharpened facial features, making Li Zi's already handsome face more three-dimensional. Sword eyebrows and star eyes, clear outline, straight nose, thin lips tightly pursed, deep and wise eyes. The long and slender fingers with well-defined joints kept tapping on the keyboard. The more Wanda looks at it, the more she thinks she looks good and lives longer. This man gave her the feeling that she was naturally seductive. Anyway, she was attracted to him not long after contacting him. Just when she was fascinated, Li Zi raised her head slowly, raised her brows lightly and said, "Witch, you are becoming more and more unscrupulous. Who's looking at you? I'm in a daze." Wanda looked away, but her hot face and hot pink earlobes couldn't lie. Duplicity. Li Zi pinched her face. "I need to go to the bathroom." Wanda ran to the bathroom in embarrassment. She blushed again in disappointment. Into the bathroom. She looked at the sparkling beautiful eyes in the mirror, lowered her head and washed her face vigorously. Her hot face was much better. Li also has the nerve to say that he is the real soul-stirring. Wanda was speechless. She had never seen a man who was more stalking and seductive than a woman, and she was thinking of ways to squeeze herself dry every day. If I cross the line in the future, I dare not imagine what kind of life I will live. Waited half a minute. She didn't take a deep breath until her earlobes were not so red, pushed open the door and walked out. Wanda sat back to her original position on the sofa, and saw Li Zi lazily leaning on the sofa, flipping through a book wrapped in parchment. And the book exudes an ancient atmosphere, giving her an urge to read it. Wanda couldn't help asking curiously, "What are you looking at?" "The book I found on Agatha's shelf, but the text on it is a bit obscure, and I'm trying to understand it." Li Zi closed the book and held it up to show her the cover. The title of the book is written in ancient Egyptian characters, giving people a mysterious feeling. "You got it from Agatha." Wanda was immediately interested, and she recognized the words at a glance. She had learned this script a few months ago when she went to Doctor Strange, and she learned it in a few hours. Also shocked Doctor Strange Stephen also teased that she is a magical wizard. If she had come a few years earlier, Sorcerer Supreme might not have chosen herself. "Show me." Wanda couldn't wait. She wondered what exactly Agatha learned to become a magic necromancer. "Witch, you have been taught a lesson." Li Zi handed the book out. "The Book of Darkness." Wanda took it and read out the title of the book above. "That's right. This book is the Book of Darkness." Li Zi thought of this way just now, and handed the book directly to the witch without receiving any suspicion. In addition, What surprised him was that the forged ancient aura on this copy of the Dark Divine Book was so realistic that it fooled Wanda. You must know that witches can possess origin magic power and telepathy ability. It seems that creating magic has brought him too many surprises. I am afraid that even Sithorn, the author of the Dark God Book, will not be able to distinguish the true from the false through the breath. Lee, this is a magic book, and the contents in it seem to be very powerful. Wanda flipped through it a few times, and the origin magic power in her body was touched, and she fell into it all at once, and the spell in the book made her unable to move her eyes. Agatha's ability doesn't look weak, and the magician is definitely not bad either. Li Zi leaned over, looked at it and said slowly, "Not only that, the Dark God Book can make you a little witch grow into a peerless great witch. Although it is still very big now. Ahem, digressing. When the time is right, the two of them seem to be able to take a multi-universe trip." Thinking of this, Li Zi, who was originally fun, suddenly found it interesting. The multi-universe is the biggest charm of Marvel. Different Avengers in different universes, Tony Stark. It's fun to think about it. This magic book may allow me to better control the origin magic power in my body. Wanda didn't notice the light in Li Zi's eyes, and nodded. She didn't expect Agatha. I lied to myself, but left a magic book, if the content in the book can help me master chaos force. Good news for her, because in recent years, Wanda often feels that origin magic power is getting out of control, and sometimes she is really worried that when she breaks down emotionally, she will cause irreparable damage. It seems that Agatha's inheritance is still useful. Li Zi stretched, leaned lazily on the sofa and yawned. Lee, don't mention this name, it's unlucky. As Wanda said, she continued to look at the contents of the book, with a regretful expression on her face, but I didn't read all the words. Didn't you learn it? Li Zi wondered. I have, but Stephen didn't finish teaching at that time. After he taught the first chapter, his face suddenly became a little ugly, and he said that he would retreat to study ancient books, so I left directly. Wanda recalls that she didn't take it very seriously. I simply feel that Stephen is too busy. After all, doctors are not always nervous, and they will leave halfway as soon as they think of a certain problem. No matter what the occasion. I see. Li Zi said so. In his heart, he complained that Stephen was probably halfway through teaching. Then I had a perception that certain events in the future might be related to witches, so I didn't continue to teach, maybe because I was worried that something would happen. In fact, this is exactly the case. In the original book, Wanda has grown into a murderous female devil. But now the appearance of Li Zi has put an end to that ending, and has turned the witch into a good girl. Then he looked at the witch with a tangled face, glanced at the magic book, and said slowly, "That word means soul and undead." What? Wanda was slightly stunned, and then she reacted in surprise and said, "Do you understand?" Well, I have studied ancient Egyptian. Li Zi said unhurriedly. In fact, he has never learned it, but he has the power characteristic of creating magic. I learned it in 10 seconds when I read the original version before, otherwise I would not be fascinated by it. After all, if you don't understand it, how can you be fascinated by it? Lee, you are amazing, teach me quickly. Wanda's face was full of surprise, and she handed the book to him. No problem. This sentence is soul and necromancer, saying. Li Zi was willing to give lectures to witches, so he took the book and started to read. The first one is an ordinary basic technique, which can condense magical energy and attack the soul of living beings. The attack method is really black magic. Powerful people use it to gather and disperse the souls of living beings. But it's far worse than Li Zi's Avada Kedavra. Aha! Wanda was obviously in a better mood than before, leaning on Li Zi's shoulder to read the book of the Dark God together. Because she discovered that her man is far better than she imagined, even without super abilities, he is still full of talent. However, at this moment, she saw an unforgettable scene. I saw a mass of black aura condensed on Li Zi's hand, exuding bursts of evil hissing, as if it could tear people's souls apart at any time. Rao is that the surrounding air is gradually getting colder. Spirits and souls gather and disperse. Li Zi focused on the Dark Divine Book, not noticing the slightest change in his hand. He continued to chant the spell in the book, and the black aura gathered on the left hand is also intensifying. The emitted airflow once distorted the air. Chapter 53. Buzz. The mass of black aura in his hand intensified, and the air around him became distorted and broken, causing the tabletop items in front of him to tremble. All of a sudden, the lights flickered violently. Quote, quote. Wanda next to her was dazed with beautiful eyes, pointing at Li Zi's left hand exuding black aura, and said with a trembling tone. What? Hearing the sound, Li Zi looked to his left hand. In fact, when the lights were flickering just now, he sensed something was wrong, and there was a strange breath wrapped around his hands. What's going on? How is it possible? When he raised his hand and saw the mass of black aura on his left hand, his pupils constricted suddenly, and his brain suddenly became a little confused. What's the situation? Isn't he reading the book of the Dark God, and so on? Li Zi shook the black aura's left hand. The aura on it obviously came from the Dark Divine Book. He realized that he seemed to have read the spell in the Dark Book. No wonder the magical power was subconsciously activated. Laughs. But isn't this the Dark God Book? He just read it for the second time, and the command spell actually succeeded the first time. Lao Su is also endowed with extraordinary abilities. No, it's not a question of ability. The problem is that I used magic in front of Wanda, and there is no way to escape it. It suddenly made him feel dizzy. Now how to explain? Although she had already admitted to the witch last night that she was a magician, she didn't believe it at the time, and she didn't say anything further. It's like not acknowledging it. Wanda, you listen to me explain. Li Zi took a deep breath, and decided to explain a pair of Jin Naxi Gong Or. But as soon as he turned his head, he greeted Wanda who was hugging him. Her clear eyes were like jewels full of surprises. Li, you are a magic genius. Quote, question mark, quote. Li Zi was stunned for a moment, feeling the soft and fragrant witch in her arms, and said in astonishment, aren't you angry? My boyfriend is a magic genius, both civil and military, why am I angry? Hear this. Wanda in her arms raised her head, exposing her delicate snow-white collarbone and asked in doubt. Quote, quote. Li Zi was at a loss for words. I forgot, this is your first encounter with magic. Wanda patted her head, sat up straight and pulled Li Zi over to face each other. She rubbed Black Aura's left hand, which had already dissipated, and explained softly, when you were chanting the incantation just now, you comprehended the magic incantation, that's why that happened. Do you think I have an extraordinary ability and have learned the magic of the Dark Divine Book? Li Zi suddenly realized that he understood. Before, he was thinking about how to explain it, but the witch actually just thought that he had extraordinary abilities. Has a very high ability in magic. But why didn't the system give any hints? Now the witch is equivalent to directly exposing him. It stands to reason that it should be the same as Agatha's situation before. In the end, is which part of the problem? Could it be because the Dark God Book didn't come from the system? Isn't it? You just read it once and learned it, and I don't have the slightest idea now. Wanda looked at him speechlessly, and asked, Li, you didn't respond at all. No, I just feel a little weird. Li Zi also found that his reaction was a little too flat, so he couldn't help coughing lightly. He didn't react flatly, but was startled by a faint. I thought it was going to be exposed, but I had already thought of hundreds of excuses and explanations in my mind, and I also thought of various ways to make the witch happy. The result was a false alarm. But it's also a good thing, at least he doesn't want to face Shira Field right now. Li, from now on your life will no longer be ordinary. Wanda didn't notice his emotion. A smile was raised at the corner of her mouth, carved like a knife. She smiled happily. She was really happy for Li Zi from the bottom of her heart. Then you can help me ask the black marinated egg, can I join the Avengers? Li Zi laughed teasingly. Farewell, the Avengers of today are not the Avengers of the past. Wanda shook her head with a complex expression. She understood deeply. I'm just kidding, let's continue to study the Dark God Book. Li Zi rubbed her head and continued to turn the next page. He was just kidding, it's definitely not possible to join the Avengers. The current Avengers organization is almost completely controlled by the government. The previous Avengers alliance was bad before the 4-Day War. Judging from Guo Wuking's attitude towards the Avengers, it is enough to see that the government now has the right to directly intervene in the Avengers. Don't turn the page yet. Seeing this, Wanda pressed the big hand that turned the page, and gave him a supercilious look. I'm not as evil as you, I haven't learned the first chapter yet, let me read it a few more times first. Read it a few more times. Li Zi frowned slightly, and there seemed to be a black line across the top of his head. He could imagine that if Stephen heard what the witch said, his worldview would be shattered. And complained with a British accent, "Two freaks. I seem to have learned it too." For a moment, Wanda shook his left hand in surprise, and then a group of black aura mixed with scarlet light emerged. The black aura mixed with scarlet light was filled with bursts of power, the surrounding air was distorted and broken, and the air temperature dropped a lot suddenly. As expected of my witch. Li Zi pinched her cheeks as a reward, and the witch's white and greasy cheeks were extremely smooth when pinched. It's hard to put it down. Quickly read the next page. I found this spellbook to be a perfect match for origin magic power. Wanda reminisces about the wonder brought by the magic spell just now, and the spell unexpectedly matches the origin magic power in her body. The two complement each other and maximize their strength, as if they were prepared for her. Perhaps this is why Agatha wants to snatch the origin magic power. Li Zi reminded. She came for origin magic power, in order to become stronger by practicing the Dark God book. When Wanda heard this, she immediately thought of it. If you think about it this way, Agatha's intention to snatch the origin magic power is very obvious. Thinking of this, she seemed to be aware of it, and looked at the scarlet light in her palm. For the first time, I felt how powerful my power is, and it seems that many people want to get it. Wanda, you will become the most powerful witch in the world. Seeing her own witch won, Li Zi finally realized how powerful she is, and immediately felt very relieved. From now on, I will rely on you. HMPH, Li, your ability is no worse than mine. When Wanda heard the encouragement from the person she liked, she felt warm in her heart. Look at what the second article is about. Aha, seeing that it was still early and the witch was so interested, Li Zi continued to turn to the next page. The content of the second pass is obviously much more difficult than the first one. After all, it is the book of the Dark God written by Sithorn, and the subsequent content will only become more and more difficult, and the abilities of each chapter will become more and more weird. Those are spells created by the terrifying thinking of the ancient gods. However, Li Zi learned it completely after just scanning it once. Li, you are the real monster. Wanda was very sure that Li Zi was definitely learning the Dark God book for the first time, and there was no aura about the Dark God book in his body. She was completely fascinated by the man in front of her. There is no woman who does not like a good man. What's more, it's someone you like. Which reading, what are you reading? Li Zi reached out and knocked her on the head, and said with a serious face, students who are disobedient will be punished. You. Wanda met his gaze, inexplicably remembering what she had searched before. Teacher and student. It seems that the current situation is too similar to that forum post. The teacher holding the magic book is teaching a who. Wanda shook her head, thinking about it again. How strange it is for Li Zi, now her mind is not clean. What's wrong with you? Li Zi was a little puzzled, as if he hadn't done anything. Now I just want to teach the witch well so that she can grow up quickly. After all, one thing is another thing, and there will be opportunities for that kind of thing in the future. Nothing. Wanda realized that she seemed to have misunderstood him. This man seemed to really just want to study hard. Immediately ashamed of the dirty behavior in his heart, he blushed and lowered his head to read the magic book. Maybe it was a nasty idea that just came to me inadvertently. It made her a bit unable to learn, and she stared at Mo in a daze for a long time. Witch, are you distracted? Li Zi perceived her mood swings and couldn't help reminding her. No. No. Wanda shook her head. It's actually very simple. Wanda, you have to remember that your greatest advantage is origin magic power, which is why Agatha wants to snatch it. Li Zi saw her struggle, and continued to say, so you have to develop your own advantages to the maximum. Spells are just a support for you. You have to understand that now you are not practicing the Dark God book, but cultivating origin magic power. As long as you keep making the origin magic power in your body stronger, you will be truly powerful, and the Dark Divine Book is an auxiliary after all. He sees that Wanda may not really realize that origin magic power looks at the entire universe. Even multi-universe, what a terrifying energy. If one can cultivate to the extreme, breaking through the single universe is only a matter of time. Practice origin magic power. Why didn't I think so? After Wanda listened, she looked at Li Zi with light in her eyes and even more surprise. Li, you are really amazing. Li Zi, who was exposed to magic for the first time, unexpectedly had such a deep comprehension, he even understood origin magic power better than himself. I used to read fantasy novels. Li Zi touched his nose guiltily and jokingly made an excuse. Now I know how to practice. Fortunately, the pure Wanda didn't think too much. After the doubts in her heart were solved, she continued to read the magic book and started studying. Time passed quickly. More than an hour later, Wanda, who was sitting cross-legged on a chair, slowly opened her eyes and a scarlet gleam flashed through her eyes, making her fair and pretty face look alluring and charming. Call. She parted her red lips lightly, exhaling blue air lightly. How did you learn it? Li Zi pinched the witch's milky face and asked. Aha. Wanda nodded confidently. Then he raised his head and nodded on Li Zi's lips. Your reward. 0. Seeking flowers. That's all. Li Zi frowned slightly, pretending to be dissatisfied. When the clothes arrive, I'll make up for you, and I'm not ready yet. Wanda lowered her head with a blushing face, and responded with a voice like a mosquito. No sooner said than done. But should we go to bed? Li Zi came up and hugged the witch's slender willow waist, and looked at the clock on the wall. It's already 9:30. No, I want to keep studying. Wanda raised her eyebrows and said seriously. We will study together tomorrow, and I will accompany you then. Talking. Li Zi immediately picked up the witch, left the dark book and walked towards the bedroom. How could it be possible not to sleep? Wouldn't the welfare of her fragrant and soft pillow be gone? Li, let me go. Don't interfere with my study. The soft woman in her arms struggled with displeasure written on her face. I just said that the witch should study hard, but now she has to hug herself to sleep. Don't let go, you have to combine work and rest in order to learn well. Look, I'm not going to sleep too. Li Zi refused to let go. Carry people directly to the bedroom all the way, throw them on the bed, turn off the light and cover the quilt, and the day is complete. WW. But you can learn it once, I can't learn it at all. Wanda was speechless. She kept praising her ability some time ago, but it turned out that this man was really talented. To be precise, he is a monster. No one can learn it at a glance, even Dr. Stephen John can't do it. Don't worry, you can learn it quickly with your ability. Under the quilt, Li Zi hugged her, buried her head on her shoulder and comforted her. But, I have learned to protect you properly, otherwise there will definitely be people like Agatha appearing again in the future. If you don't have such good luck this time. With her back turned to him, Wanda whispered her worries in a low voice. On the surface, she was relieved, but in her heart she was very worried. After experiencing what happened to Agatha, she knew that such things would definitely happen in the future. When the time comes, Li Zi will definitely be the first victim. She can't imagine what will happen. Don't worry, didn't you say that I have extraordinary abilities? Maybe I will protect you in the future. Listen to the witch's words full of concern. Li Zi felt warm in his heart, and couldn't help but want to hug her tighter. And Wanda couldn't help her nose sore. She suddenly thought of the friends who fell one by one around her, those friends who died in the Great War, those friends who lost right in front of her. She was silent for a moment, then retorted in a low voice, No, I will protect you from now on. Okay, good night. New York City. This bustling city is the heart of the country's economy. It carries most of the economic operations. At the moment, even though it is late at night, the city is still full of feasting and feasting. It is worthy of its other name, the city that never sleeps. The city that never sleeps will never turn off the lights. And at the moment, the basement of a building. You edit the content and send it to my mailbox, and you will get the money. The other end of the phone said again. I hope you don't break your word. The one holding the mobile phone is a balding middle-aged man. He is hiding in the basement warehouse curry, sitting in front of the computer and watching the video on the screen. There is a ruthlessness between the brows, but also a little anxiety. Wilhelm, you have no choice now, trust me, it's the only one that can help you. Are you trying to make Quentin Baker do nothing for nothing? The voice came from the phone again. Okay, it's a deal. Wilhelm nodded, thinking of the dead Quentin Mysterio. That's right, he is one of Quentin's main accomplices, and he helped in the scam of the century. And he is also the one who was abandoned by the Stark Group. After decisive phone call, Wilhelm turned on the video screen on the computer, and said in a cold tone, Come on, the real name of K will go down in history. Let the world remember this superhero from the multi-universe. He grinned. At the moment, the video on the screen starts to play, and the screen is the perspective of the mysterious guest. He fell to the ground in pain, with horror written all over his face. Spider-Man, he's going to kill me. And Scarlet Witch, this unreasonable woman is going to help Spider-Man become the heir to Iron Man. They're all crazy. I'm telling everyone now, Spider-Man. It's Peter Parker. In the picture, the mysterious guest Quentin's face is full of injuries, and his tone is weak and terrified. As he said that, he had already turned the camera and looked forward. A young high school student dressed in Spider-Man costume was walking towards this side. Then, boom, accompanied by bursts of ear-piercing gunshots, the camera went black. Only the sound of bullet casings hitting the ground echoed in my ears. Chapter 54. Next morning. In the autumn morning, the cool air blows into the half-covered windows, the curtains flutter and rustle with the wind, and the sunlight shining into the house flickers. Click. It's rare to see people on the road at 6:30. Lizzie opened the window completely, breathing in the morning air. At the moment, there were already people running on the side of the road. It was Tianjin Bureau Agent James Wu who was pretending to be a resident, and few people in the nearby community would go out at this point. Because everyone works in the town, compared to the fast-paced big cities. Zijing Town usually doesn't go to work until 8 or 9 o'clock, just leave the house 20 minutes earlier. It doesn't have to be that early at all. Agents are hardworking. Lizzie glanced at the witch curled up in bed. This woman said last night that she would get up early to study. As a result, when the alarm clock rang, there was no movement at all. He smiled helplessly, hugged the coat on his body with emotion, closed the window and walked towards the living room. The temperature in the early autumn morning is cool and refreshing, which is very unfriendly to people who have just come out of bed. After a simple wash, I saw that it was still early and I was not in a hurry to make breakfast. Lizzie sat on the sofa and turned on the TV, watching the morning news broadcast by BBC, which is the most authoritative and largest news agency in America. Almost all the major events in the world and in China cannot skip the eyes of BBC. But BBC is also very hypocritical, some of which are the so-called truth, but not the truth. According to yesterday's Times reporter investigation, it was found that Sombra, Mysterio, Scarlet Witch, and Spider-Man solved the big crisis. And Sombra and Mysterio, as the new superheroes, have saved people from danger in a few days. And the two hosts on the TV talked to each other, reporting the news of the day before yesterday. Nick Fury didn't expose Mysterio. Lizzie leaned on the soft sofa, was surprised to see this, and immediately reacted, "Forget, that's not Nick Fury, but a fake. The real Nick, 770, Ray is not on the Earth, but in the spaceship of the Screws in outer space." This also makes sense, why the most cautious person on the Earth would be played by the unknown villain Mysterio. Because fakes simply don't have that much power. In addition, it is enough to prove that the counterfeit is estimated to have left the Earth directly after completing the mission. Didn't leave to deal with the funeral, which indirectly led to the exposure of Little Spider-Man's identity. In the original book, Little Spider-Man probably didn't expect that the people who fought together were all fakes. It seems that the three bugs are not far away. Lizzie estimated the time, and there was no accident. The slowest is that someone will expose the identity of Little Spider-Man next week, and it will be another big farce. By the way, what happened last night? He suddenly remembered that he knew magic last night, and Wanda saw it, but the system didn't respond. Since he has been getting tired of the witch, he temporarily put it down. Now that I think about it, I quickly ask the system. Ding. The hidden strength is limited to the ability linked to the system. The host's own ability is not within the scope of judgment. Close black lens bracket. After reading the system prompt, Lizzie immediately understood. The system means that the exposed ability comes from the system, so it will be judged as a failure. For example, the ability created by creating magic, the technique of spiritualization, the shadow core, and Avada Kedavra all come from the system in the end. Therefore, it is within the scope of judgment. And the magic he inadvertently displayed last night actually came from the Dark Divine Book. So it is not within the scope of judgment. After all, it does not belong to the system, but to the host itself. For example, Lizzie originally has super high fighting skills. he goes out to fight with others, this situation will naturally not be judged as a hidden failure. If I knew this, I should have gone to Doctor Strange to steal some magic books to learn. Li Zi couldn't help complaining. With his ability, it is not a problem to go to the holy place to steal a few magic books, and now his overall strength is already higher than Doctor Strange. At this stage, Stephen's performance in battle is far from the level of Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One. But with his ability, it will be a matter of time before he surpasses Ancient One. There were many disappearances at night in Zijing Town yesterday. At this time, the content broadcast on the TV caught Li Zi's attention. Westview. Li Zi heard that it was the town she was in, and immediately looked up. According to the police's search, no remains were found, and the on-site surveillance did not capture any footage of anyone leaving. Specific incidents. Finished listening. Li Zi was a little surprised. The way he mysteriously disappeared at night, he seemed to have seen it somewhere a long time ago, and it seemed to be related to magic. He couldn't remember it for a while, so he could only put it down temporarily. After reading the news, he couldn't help complaining. A small Zijing town can still encounter weird events. It's almost 8 o'clock so soon. Li Zi looked up, and the hands of the clock on the wall were approaching 8 o'clock. It's almost time for Wanda to wake up. Let's make breakfast first. Talking. He stretched himself, got up and walked towards the kitchen. It's rare to cook today, maybe because the relationship with the witch is different. I really want to cook a meal for her and feed her. The style of breakfast is very simple. Since nearly a month, Wanda has been eating Chinese food with herself, and she has gotten used to the eating habits of Chinese food. So he cooked a pot of preserved egg and lean pork porridge, fried some fried dough sticks, and ground soy milk. Although he never cooks at home, he also prepared some materials to prevent accidents. Coo. Not for a while. Thin white smoke filled the kitchen, and a fresh fragrance wafted out, and anyone who smelled it would feel their appetite whetted. It should be almost there. Li Zi put a pot of porridge and soybean milk fried dough sticks on the table, with a satisfied expression on his face. Li, have you made breakfast? The door of the room opened and it was Wanda who woke up. Her eyes were blurred, and her thin pajamas drooped to reveal her milky white shoulders. Since she just woke up, her hair was a little fluffy, making her look a little more lazy and charming. Well, little slob, hurry up and wash up, or the breakfast will be cold. Li Zi nodded and put 2 bowls of porridge on the table. So you know how to cook. Wanda walked to the table and smelled the tempting fresh fragrance, and suddenly became a little sober. Lu Mei raised her eyebrows slightly and said in surprise. The two have been together for so long, almost going out for breakfast, lunch and dinner together for more than a month, and they have never seen Li Zi cooking at home. Just because you haven't done it, doesn't mean you haven't done it. Li Zi couldn't help pinching her cheek hard. Don't squeeze it, it's oily. Wanda dodged and touched the place where she was pinched. Her face must be oily from not washing all night. No, witch, you don't seem to understand how good your skin really is. Li Zi stretched out his hand and pinched it again. His white and tender face was hard to put down. The witch's skin is very good. Even when she wakes up in the morning, she doesn't feel oily. And after staying up for several days and nights, under her clear and beautiful eyes, there is no sign of dark circles under her eyes. God is really not ashamed of this woman. Glib. Quote. Wanda is in a good mood after being praised, turns and walks into the bathroom. On the table. How is it delicious? Li Zi looked at the woman drinking porridge with her head down, and asked expectantly. It's delicious. Wanda couldn't stop after taking a sip, and finished the bowl in just a few sips. Her pink tongue licked her lips insatiably. There's still a lot in the pot, drink more. A smile formed on the corner of Li Zi's mouth, and he helped him fill another bowl of porridge. Drip drip. The phone in his pocket rang. He glanced down, picked up the phone. No problem, thank you. Simply say a few words and then decisively call. Who is it? Wanda wondered. That house of yours has been built. Li Zi said slowly. So fast. Wanda was a little surprised. It's only been a month. The wooden house construction team even felt that it was a week late, but the water and electricity can be used normally, so, what do you want to do with this house? Live in it. Li Zi said a lot, but only the last 2 sentences were what he really wanted to ask. He knew in his heart that the address of the house was chosen by vision. Sell it. Wanda didn't have the slightest hesitation when she heard it. Sell. Li Zi was somewhat surprised to hear this answer. Unexpectedly, the witch was so decisive that she directly chose to sell the house. I have completely let go of the past, and if I keep thinking about it, it would be disrespectful to you. Wanda raised her head, with a serious expression on her pretty face, and said seriously, Li, I don't want you to be sad, so let's sell the house. Thank you, witch. Li Zi felt warm in his heart. Outsiders would never have imagined that a witch with a seemingly indifferent temper would say such heartwarming words. Sure enough, there is a saying, there is no real indifference, it is just indifference to you. Finish breakfast. According to Wanda, the newly completed house was directly put on the internet and listed for sale by the middleman in the town. The price is not cheap, because it is sold together with the land. Coupled with the fact that the tax is not expensive, the price has also been improved. But it should sell out soon. It should be clear that the land is a permanent right to use, but you have to pay taxes every year, otherwise you will be forced to reclaim it. Therefore, many people buy houses or land with low taxes. Boom boom boom. There was a hasty knock on the door. Li, is Wanda with you? A familiar shout with an oriental accent came. Click. Li Zi opened the door, and there was a man and a woman standing outside. They were the Tianjin Bureau agents James Wu and Monica Rambo who moved into the apartment a few days ago. What's wrong with you two? He doesn't like the people in Tianjin Bureau a little bit. This group of guys are the same as S.H.I.E.L.D. Every time they show up, nothing good will happen. We're looking for Wanda. James Wu pointed to the room. Wu, how could Wanda be at his house? Monica gave him a blank stare. As far as she knew, Wanda had just been through grief. There was no way a man would let her get over it quickly. What do you want me for? However, Wanda poked her head out from behind Li Zi. When she saw the two of them, she frowned slightly, and her tone became much colder. I perceive that you have the aura of the Heavenly Sword Bureau. Heavenly Sword Bureau? Is it the rogue organization you mentioned before? Li Zi pretended to be surprised and said zero. Cough cough cough. James Wu coughed twice, and explained, I'm sorry, there was a misunderstanding before. Hayward asked us to investigate a case without a case, by the way. So he suspects that I have something to do with that case. Wanda sneered. With a pretty face as white as snow, and a sneer at the corner of her mouth, it seemed that the temperature of the air suddenly dropped. Misunderstanding. We already know that you participated in Nick Fury's mission the day before yesterday, so we came to you today to apologize. James Wu felt cold, and quickly opened his mouth to explain. Li Zi and Wanda left a few days ago. They thought something big was going to happen. It turned out that he was going on a trip, and by the way he got rid of a supervillain. Properly decent, it is impossible to commit murder. There is a high probability that the black magician, Agatha Nix, did it, but unfortunately the old witch is dead. Just to apologize. Say something quickly. Wanda's eyes swept across the two of them like a blade, and said slowly. Well, we're here for a spooky case, it might be a spooky case. In recent days, people often disappear at night, and the room is empty the next day. The police couldn't find any clues, not even surveillance footage. James Wu said the purpose. Hearing this, Li Zi immediately became interested, because the case was the same as what he had heard in the morning. It's just that the only thing mentioned in the news was that someone was killed last night. Obviously, the police deliberately concealed the truth in order to prevent the impact of their gaffe. Mysterious disappearance. Wanda was slightly taken aback. She didn't expect such an incident to happen in Westview Town. That's right, although the police had no clues, we found some clues. It was a little girl who was driving at a high speed. We saw in a dream that someone was going to take her away, but she broke free at the last moment. James Wu said, handing out a document. He glanced at Li Zi who was narrating, and coughed twice to indicate that this was a confidential internal document of the Tianjin Bureau. If you don't let him see it, neither will I. Wanda took the document as she spoke, and opened it in front of Li Zi. James Wu wanted to stop it, but he asked for help, so he could only pretend he didn't see it. The first page contains the little girl's file and what she said during the transcript. But those words did not attract her, but she was attracted by the picture of the little girl. The girl was very young. She looked like 5 or 6 years old. She was pink and jade carved, with blonde hair and fair skin, a bit like Hermione when she was a child. The witch looked at the photo and poked Li Zi next to her. Lee, you see, we seem to have seen her before. Which time? Li Zi ignored the threat in James Wu's eyes, and leaned over to look at the file. After thinking for a moment, it's the girl you saved before. Aha, Wanda nodded. The night before when I first came to Zijing Town, I rescued a mother and daughter with Li Zi on the way, and the girl in the file was exactly her. It seems that the people of Tianjin Bureau are lucky, the witch is willing to help you. Hearing this, Li Zi put away the documents and said slowly. Li, why did you tell me what I said? Wanda frowned, feigned dissatisfaction. Because I'm the roundworm in your stomach. 0.6. Li Zi was very familiar with witches. Seeing her expression, he immediately knew what was going on in her heart. When the witch rescued the girl before, her eyes were full of love, and it was impossible to let the case go unnoticed. Definitely, even if it didn't happen, a good witch would do it. Wanda, on behalf of the Heavenly Sword Bureau, I thank you. Wu and Monica are very touched. Everything will be much easier with the help of the top Chaoying. However, as soon as he finished speaking, his face froze when he heard the answer. You should thank us. I will take Li with me. Wanda took Li Zi next to her, with an undeniable expression on her face. Li Zi had no objection. Anyway, he had nothing to do at home, so he might as well go with the witch. Having a companion would ensure her safety. Besides, the addresses are all within the range of Zijing Town. A rare opportunity. After all, he only went out of the prescribed range a few days ago, and he will not be able to leave Zijing Town for the next week. So this may be the only thing to watch for the next week. In addition, after reading the file, Li Zi has already guessed the mastermind behind the scenes, and there is a high probability that it is another believer who wants to summon Mephisto. It's been a long time since I've been in the Marvel Universe, and this is the first time I've encountered the Mephisto event. I don't know if Doctor Strange will be provoked. That guy is a professional who only deals with Mephisto, so it's not surprising that he's here. No problem. Wu and Monica looked at each other, hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. Both of them are core members of the task force, and they have the right to let anyone participate in the task, but they have to take risks, but it is insignificant compared with Wanda's joining. Soon, Li Zi and Wanda simply packed up and followed them to the little girl's house. Chapter 55. East Township of Zijing Town. In front of a small two-story building, the black SUV of Tianjin Bureau drove slowly and parked on the side of the road. Is this the building? The car door opened. Wanda got out of the car and pointed to the European-style building in front of her. Well, I wish they were home. Monica Rambeau walked over first. With a worried expression on her face, she said, I hope they are at home. The recent disappearances are disturbing. This morning when the Burkes knew that their daughter might be targeted, they clamored for go find the necromancer. You know, in fact, rich people believe in necromancer more than us. James. Wu Chong, Li Zi and Wanda raised their eyebrows, with mean smiles on their faces. Aha, Li Zi nodded in agreement, then looked at Wanda beside him. At the moment the witch was looking down at the Book of the Dark God. She had been reading the Book of the Dark God along the way, and seemed to hope to find the answer from the book. After all, this is the book of the ancient god Sithorn, so there will be related records to some extent. Beep. Mr. Burke, are you home? Monica Rambeau pressed the doorbell, and a crisp doorbell echoed. After a while, the door was opened, and a Japanese-skinned man with an elegant appearance and majesty between his brows pushed the door open. When he saw Monica outside the door, he frowned. What are you doing? The police can't control this matter at all. Mr. Burke, I understand how you feel. Monica understood Burke's feelings. Her daughter was being targeted, but the police were like headless flies without any thoughts. It won't be a good attitude for anyone. Thinking about it, she took a step back, looked back at Wanda and said slowly, so the ones who are really going to handle the case this time are not us, but the 10 top superheroes from Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch. At this time, a woman came out of the room and saw the two people outside the door. Immediately there was joy on his face. Burke, they are the ones who saved my daughter and me in the alley a month ago. I know you, Scarlet Witch. Mr. Burke's eyes lit up when he heard the words, and he walked up with a smile and extended his hand politely. Hello. It was the first time for Wanda to meet such an enthusiastic person, and she stretched out her hand and shook it somewhat restrainedly. Wanda, you have a double bonus, and the BUF is fully stacked. Li Zi next to him lowered his head, leaned into the witch's ear and said in a deep voice, "The witch plus Avenger Chaoying. Who is this?" Burke naturally noticed Li Zi a long time ago, especially seeing that the two of them were in such close contact. Mistakenly thought that 07 was also the Avengers superhero. For one more Chaoying, he is naturally happy in his heart. It's just that Burke looked at Li Zi, hesitated for a long time but couldn't call out his name. Li Zi, Scarlet Witch's boyfriend. On the contrary, Li Zi stretched out his hand politely and smiled. He's just here to watch, but don't worry, he will never make trouble. James. Wu saw that Burke regarded Li Zi as Chaoying, so in order to avoid the misunderstanding from continuing, he hurriedly explained. Well, let's go in first. Hear this. Burke was a little embarrassed. It turned out that he was not Chaoying, but just an ordinary person. Everyone did not rest after entering the house, but went directly to the room on the second floor, and the door was closed tightly. Since the dream last night, Josie has kept herself in the room and refused to come out. Burke said and gently opened the door. The windows in the room were closed and the curtains were drawn tight, making the room look dark and gloomy. On the bed in the middle, a little girl was curled up on the bed covered with a quilt, and raised her head cautiously when she heard the sound. Dad, who are they? Josie immediately became nervous when she saw so many people walking into the room. Josie, don't be afraid. They are all here to help you catch the bad guys. Burke walked to the bedside and comforted him softly. Josie, do you remember me? Wanda walked over and looked at the little girl carved in pink and jade, her eyes were full of love. Scarlet Witch. Seeing her, Josie's immature face immediately showed joy, and she said in surprise, Dad, you really hired a witch to help me? Yeah, wait, you have to cooperate well with Sister Witch, don't cry, don't make trouble, okay? Burke breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that the woman was no longer afraid. Yeah, but except for that big brother, everyone else has to go out. Chao Qian raised her head and pointed at Li Zi. Apparently she also recognized Li Zi, the big brother who knocked down the bad guy in the alley a month ago. Cough cough cough. James. Wu couldn't help coughing a few times. Did he fail in his disguise as a policeman? The victim called for an ordinary person by name. Neither wanted him. What can an ordinary person do by staying here? Monica was also a little embarrassed, but the little girl didn't want them, so what could she do? Okay, you have to be obedient. Burke raised his head and smiled at Wanda, then looked at Li Zi and nodded. Although Li Zi is an ordinary person, his role is at least much greater than these two policemen. Thinking about it, he glanced at Wu and Monica coldly, took them out together, and closed the door. Li Zi naturally noticed Burke's mood swings, but he ignored them. Instead, he focused his attention on the little girl carved in pink and jade. He squatted beside the bed and couldn't help reaching out and pinching the girl's face. Little guy, you still remember me? Definitely remember. You kicked the bad guys down with one kick. Josie imitated Li Zi's action that night, waving her small fist and hitting the pillow. When you grow up, I can teach you. Li Zi rubbed the little guy's head, outlined a curved smile and said. Li, let's get down to business first. Wanda looked at the man speechlessly, acting a little childish. Sure enough, a man is a teenager until he dies. As she said that, she looked at Josie with soft eyes, and asked gently, Josie, can you tell me what you dreamed about last night? There is a record in the file of Tianjin Bureau, but Yu Bing Kaishan has passed it and is afraid that he will not say more. As a result, very little is recorded in the archives. Last night, heard the words. Josie seemed to have seen something, and curled up under the blanket in horror. Don't be afraid, we'll protect you. Tell us what exactly you dreamed about. Wanda perceived the girl's emotional changes, and asked softly as she brushed her back with a faint scarlet light. I dreamed that someone was going to take him away. He was wearing Gargamel's clothes. Josie's immature face was gradually soothed. Obviously the influence of origin magic power played a role. Go on. Wanda's tone is gentle, like a sister next door. He wants to take me away. That place is an altar and there are many people like me, all of them were captured from other places. The girl hid in the bed, recalling the scene she saw in the dream last night, and she gradually fell asleep while talking. Altar. Wanda looked at the sleeping girl. She turned her head to look at Li Zi, and said the answer, it's a nightmare, I saw it in the book of the dark god. What are you going to do? Li Zi frowned slightly, because the witch thought the same as himself. I also think it was done by Nightmare, one of the most famous Mephistos in the Marvel Universe. Possesses a powerful magic field, almost invincible in its field, and he relies on absorbing dreams to enhance his strength. Judging from Josie's description, there is a high probability that it was the work of the Nightmare's messenger on Earth. I want to meet the Apostle of Nightmare in person. Wanda glanced at the frowning girl on the bed, her eyes filled with distress. I trust you and listen to you. Lizzie knows that dealing with the Apostle of the Nightmare can only be solved at the source. Otherwise, the Apostles would still do evil in another place, and these fanatical believers would not let go of any opportunity. They have been thoroughly seduced by the power of Mephisto. Time passed quickly. Soon the deep blue sky was covered with a layer of darkness, dotted with stars, and the night wind kept blowing the trees by the roadside. Russell, room on the second floor. Lee, are you not afraid of my wrong judgment? Wanda sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes fell on the sleeping girl under the blanket. I trust you. Lizzie rubbed her head and said softly, let's get out of here first, she might be about to enter a dream later. I'm just worried that if something goes wrong, I don't know where Kunchi will be taken. Wanda nodded and stood up, taking one last look at the girl curled up under the blanket. Witch, do you like children very much? Lizzie noticed the emotion in her eyes. The witch showed this expression several times today. Women really like cute human cubs very much, but Josie's appearance is indeed very delicate, with a pink face and a high nose, making people unable to help but cherish it at a glance. It's normal for witches to like it. Thinking of this, he smiled slightly. You like it, we want one when we go back. Who said I like it? Wanda froze for a moment. She was innocent but not stupid, so she naturally knew what Lizzie was planning. Drip drip. At this time, the mobile phone rang, interrupting the two of them. Wanda picked up the phone, and it was James Wu who was next door. Josie's brain waves are abnormal, and she has entered a dream. Hearing this, the two hurried to the next room. At the moment, there were only James Wu and Monica in the room. As for the Burke couple, they were picked up by the Heavenly Sword Bureau this afternoon, the reason being that their work would not be hindered. There's been a lot of volatility, and it looks like she's having nightmares again. Monica pointed to the electroencephalogram on the screen of the instrument, which was beating due to amplitude. The greater the fluctuation, the greater the dream activity of at the moment Josie. As time goes by, the brain wave curve keeps rising. She's terrified. Wanda closed her eyes slowly, feeling the emotion of the girl on the next bed, and her own breathing also became short of breath. Calm down, it's okay, this is normal behavior. Lizzie stroked the witch's back and comforted her. She's up. At this time, James Wu, who was watching the surveillance screen, saw the girl standing up from the bed in the screen, but her eyes were closed tightly, obviously unconscious sleepwalking. Then the girl walked to the window, exerted great strength with her arms, and slammed the window open and stood on the windowsill. Clearly she wanted to jump from here. She's going to jump. Seeing this, Wu hurriedly got up to save people. No, she'll be fine. Lizzie grabbed him and stared at the girl in the picture. Are you crazy? This is the second floor. James. Wu wanted to struggle to break free, only to find that the hand was like a pair of iron clamps, firmly clasping his arm. No matter how hard you try, you can't break free. Lee, you were right. Wanda just finished speaking. Girl has jumped. And then, it disappeared into the monitoring range, and then the monitoring flickered violently in white, as if it was paralyzed by the influence of the magnetic field. Shit. Crazy. At this moment Lizzie let go. James Wu cursed and rushed downstairs. The three also hurriedly followed, and when they got downstairs, the scene in front of them shocked the two agents of the Heavenly Sword Bureau. The girl who jumped down from the second floor didn't get hurt at all, instead she ran quickly towards the north. A girl who is obviously so thin runs fast. Damn it. James. Wu looked at Lizzie in disbelief. How did this guy see it? Don't be dazed, hurry up and take a look. After Lizzie reminded, he pulled Wanda to follow Chao Qian's figure and plunged into the darkness ahead together. I think we should wait for reinforcements first. James. Wu was scared, but he didn't have time to stop him, so he could only watch the two go away. Follow up quickly. Do you want to be left behind by an ordinary person? Monica next to her didn't plan to stay and wait for reinforcements, so she hurriedly chased after her, and at the same time, she didn't forget to turn her head to ask Wu. Fack. Reluctantly, James Wu glanced at the empty road, his heart was terrified, and he gritted his teeth and followed along. 10 minutes later, a few people followed Josie, who was sleepwalking, to the woods outside the town, where there was a decaying old church and a messy yard. It could be seen that this church had been abandoned for a long time. Click. Josie walked to the church, and the door opened automatically. Then she went in directly, and saw that several people hiding behind the trees were about to follow, and a few sleepwalking figures walked in the distance. There are old and young, men and women. They walked into the 130 doors of the open church one after another, and then the heavy doors were closed, coupled with the closed windows, the outside was completely isolated from the inside. Okay, now that we're all here, I want to be assigned as a doctor. James Wu took a deep breath, and almost exhausted him from running all the way. He breathed a sigh of relief and continued, "For a while, Lizzie, you stay, the three of us will go in." But he had just finished speaking. Lizzie and Wanda in front had already got up and walked towards the church. "What, Monica, are you sure you don't want to stop him? An ordinary person is cannon fodder in the face of supernatural events, even if he has the strongest Avenger as his girlfriend." James Wu saw Lizzie directly ignoring him, and complained angrily with some embarrassment. "Shish, hurry up." Monica didn't pay much attention to him, and strode to keep up with the two of them. James Wu had no choice but to keep up. Before leaving, he left a communicator with the location of the Heavenly Sword Bureau on it. If something unexpected happens, the Heavenly Sword Bureau can also find their location. Click. It's kind of spooky here, but I've only seen it in movies before. Lizzie looked around at the gloomy forest, frowning slightly. "Shish, Lee, be quiet." Wanda put her hand over his mouth and felt a few crows flying overhead. After getting along for such a long time, the witch found that this guy seemed to be always optimistic. Even the apostle who faced the nightmare of Mephisto can talk and laugh and make people feel relaxed, as if there is no fear at all. Perhaps it is Lizzie's unique, super ability. Click. Just as he was thinking, the door of the church in front of him opened automatically. How did it open? Wanda is puzzled. He is provoking us. Do you want to go in? Lizzie got the perception that there was a pair of eyes watching them. It's a pity that the man's magic attainment is too low, and he couldn't get past Li Long's capture. Go in. Wanda hesitated for a moment, thinking that Josie had just entered here. She clenched her fist slightly and walked in first. You two are free. Seeing this, Lizzie hurriedly followed, and it seemed really interesting to face Marvel's Mephisto messenger for the first time. James Wu and Monica at the back looked at each other, not to be outdone, followed. After all the people went in, the heavy door of the church was closed. Bang! Huge amounts of sound echoed through the forest. However, a few people don't know that after they are about to enter the church, two figures appeared on the hillside not far from the church, one thin and the other fat, standing there looking in the direction of the church. "Stephen, are you sure it's here?" Wong wondered. "Wong, although you are a sorcerer supreme, in fact my attainments in this area are higher than yours." Dr. Strange Stephen was quite dissatisfied when he heard that he was questioned. "Then don't talk nonsense. Hurry over and have a look. I have to deal with other things in the dojo later." "Come on, Wong, dealing with Mephisto is what Sorcerer Supreme should do." The two of you glanced at me and said a word, and flew towards the church wrapped in golden light.